As the weather cools down, it's the perfect time to start thinking about making warming soups. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this easy, no chop, cauliflower and bacon soup. You won't believe with just a few ingredients you can get a soup this tasty. If you like this video, please press the like button and share it around so that we can tell more people about Easy Healthy Tasty. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can catch all our videos new each week. Hi everyone, welcome to Easy Healthy Tasty. I'm Charity, one of the co-authors, and tonight we're going to be cooking a soup, but like a lot of the recipes for Easy Healthy Tasty, this soup doesn't need a sharp knife. We actually asked people on our page, on our Facebook page, what kind of soup they would like me to cook today, and I gave you 3 options. You could choose from cauliflower and bacon, quick and easy veggie soup, or pumpkin soup, and all of them we can make without needing a sharp knife. Now the winner was cauliflower and bacon soup, so that's what we're going to cook tonight. I've just turned my pan on like you saw, and we're going to add about 1 cup of frozen diced onion. Now you've probably heard us say this before, but we'll say it every time. When you're working with frozen onion, you need to put it in the pan while the pan is not yet hot. So I've got about a cup's worth there, and I'm going to put it in this pan that's not yet hot. And the reason for that is that we've found that if you let the oil heat up first, which you would normally do when you were going to cook off some onions, it just splatters an awful lot at you. And so if you do it from a cold pan, it's much less likely to splatter at you, and that's a bit safer and a bit nicer for cooking rather than having it popping and going everywhere at you. So we're going to need to let that do its thing. I added a tiny bit of oil to this pan because I knew I had to add the onion while the pan was cold. Normally, if I was making this not no chop, I would instead have fried off the bacon first, and that way when I add the onion, it will cook in the bacon fat, because we don't really usually need to add any extra fat if you're cooking with bacon. But for this, we needed to add a little bit, just enough to get the onions going. So now that these are starting to sizzle, I'm actually going to add my bacon. I bought diced bacon from the deli section at the supermarket, and this is about 200 grams worth. If you don't need a no chop version of the recipe, you can just cut up some bacon yourself. It doesn't have to be diced as finely as this. This was just what was in the deli. So we're going to fry off the bacon and the onion. And what we're wanting to do is cook it until the bacon gets a nice colour to it. So I'm just going to spread that out over the bottom of the pan here. I've got my heat up fairly high as well, and we're going to let that do its thing. I think it's really important though to say that most of the pre-chopped options that you can get out there are more expensive than cutting up the fresh produce yourself. Not all of them, but most of them are. And so if using a sharp knife is something that you're capable of doing and that you're comfortable doing and you're happy to do, then it's going to be cheaper for you if you do the cutting yourself. But if you can't, I don't want you to be put off too much by the extra cost of buying it pre-chopped, because it usually still works out cheaper than having bought a whole meal already prepared. And it usually is healthier for you than buying a whole meal already prepared. And it gives you the flexibility and the freedom to decide what are you going to include in your meal that night. Or in the case of making something like soup, you'll probably get a few nights worth out of it. Having said that though, today when I went shopping, if I had bought a whole cauliflower to chop up myself, it would have cost me more than the frozen cauliflower that I have bought to go in this recipe. If I had bought the pre-chopped fresh cauliflower, it would have been more expensive, but the frozen cauliflower worked out cheaper than buying a whole cauliflower. Now this is finally starting to get somewhere. And I can smell the bacon cooking. Oh, you can start to see now, it's just starting. It's probably a bit hard to tell in our pan, but the bottom is starting to go a little bit brown. Don't worry, it's not burning. That's just flavour. If you don't have a big or heavy cast iron pot like this, don't worry, you can do this in any saucepan that you have that's big enough. But just be aware that it might stick a bit to the bottom. So that's just to be mindful of. It's not a problem, just might mean a little bit of elbow grease while you're cleaning it. Okay, I think we're gonna move on. If I wasn't doing this as a video, I probably would cook this bacon for just a little bit longer and get a little bit of extra colour in it. But in the interest of not making this video too long, we're going to move on. So we've got 1 cup of onion, or if you're cutting it yourself, 1 onion. We've got about 200 grams of diced bacon, and if you're cutting it yourself, just get about 200 grams and cut it up. And then to that, we're going to add either 1 whole cauliflower, or in our case, we've got 1 kilo of frozen cauliflower florets here. If you're cutting it up yourself, don't think that you only use this part of the cauliflower. Use the core of the cauliflower as well. It's got great flavour to it. So you know, bits that go down further than this, use it all. Now, frozen cauliflower does have a different texture than fresh cauliflower once it's cooked, but in a soup, you really won't notice the difference. So we've got that in, and now I'm going to add 1 litre of chicken stock. This is a salt reduced version, and the reason I've chosen that is because it's a healthier choice anyway, but we've already got salt from the bacon as well, so we really don't need the full salt version of a stock. So we're just going to put that in there. Just give it a quick stir. And what we'll find while this is cooking is that all that flavour, the brown stuff that was on the bottom of the pan, as this continues to cook, it will lift off and it will become incorporated into the stock, and it will add the flavour that was stuck to the bottom into the recipe. Now all we need to do is leave this to cook until the cauliflower is really very soft, and by very soft I mean it'll basically be falling apart. And with frozen cauliflower that shouldn't take too long really, but for now there's nothing more to do except wait for this to cook. Once it starts boiling, I will turn it down to just a simmer. And I mean, I would guess that it might take only maybe 10 or 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes once it's boiling and then simmering until it's ready to puree. Okay, so we've had this simmering for only really about 10 or 15 minutes, but it's ready to go. Oh, need my spoon, that would help. So if you come in and have a look here, you'll see that the cauliflower really just, I'm not pushing hard with this spoon at all, it just falls apart. And so now it's ready to puree. So I've got my stick mixer here, and all I'm going to do is stab it in and get to it. Okay, so that's pureed, and what you can see is, actually I might just put this in the sink. What you can see is we've now got this lovely thick cauliflower and bacon soup that is ready to serve. Now, one tip I will give you while you're using the stick mixer is to make sure you keep the head of it under the surface of the soup as much as possible, or else sometimes it'll splurt at you, and that hurts because this is very hot soup. Okay, so now we're going to serve this up. And you can have it with some lovely crusty bread. Dinner is served. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to Easy Healthy Tasty to catch all our new recipes each week. See you later.